Welcome to Stu's 2010 updated Dungeon Workshop tour. So, around behind where I park my two vans is where the entranceway to the dungeon is. There's my hatch. The total hatch is about 4 foot square when I open it completely. Usually on a daily basis I only open the one side of it, but if I need to get something big down there or something big out, I just move all that turning stock out of the way there and the whole hatch comes out. And it's about 4 foot square, which is actually a fairly big hole. Just looking around here, up there I got some more turning stock. That's wood there is the red keyaki, or the red Japanese elm. I turn all those pieces into pen blanks and send them around the world. Anybody want some? I usually have some extra ones laying around, and I certainly don't mind sending you some. It's wood that I get from the local Shinto shrine. I call it my shrine wood. Over here is my electric hoist. That's good for 120 kilograms, or that's I think 260 pounds. That's not bad. I've also got a metric 1-ton chain hoist. And if I really need to do something heavy, like when I put the saw stop down into the dungeon, that's what I used, was a chain hoist, of course. Okay, well, let's open up the hatch here and head downstairs. There we go, the hatch is open, and you can look over here down into the dungeon. There's my stairs of sorts. It's kind of almost a ladder, I guess. It's a bit steep, but that's where I go down. So let's head down. Close the hatch because it's a bit noisy out there with the road noise, and just take a quick look around. I'm standing in the north end of the shop here, and I'll just take a quick look around so you have an idea where we are. Okay, the shop is approximately 14 feet wide by 23 feet long. It's not a big space, but I make my best use of it as I can. In the four corners of the shop there are these very large, as you can see, kind of concrete blocks here, so that takes up a lot of floor space, unfortunately. I have utilized them for, like in this case I got tools in there, a compressor over there, and cabinets over there. These are actually the very tops of the very long concrete pillars that have to go down into the ground to stabilize the building, because we do live in Japan and it's earthquake country. The building is 7 floors tall, and those concrete pillars go down 9 floors deep into the ground. There's a total of 9 of them, I think, in the building, all told, that stick like fingers down into the ground, so when we get a big earthquake the building doesn't fall over, I guess, is the idea. So, anyways, I guess we'll start here in the north corner. Here's my Cyclone. This is a Pence design Cyclone. I built it, as it says there, in July 2005, with lots of help from Bill Pence, and it's all documented up on my webpage. It was not an easy thing to do, especially here, because I don't have any support from any kind of metalworking shop. I did it all myself, but it sure works great, let me tell you. I've got a 2.2 kilowatt, which I think is around 3 horsepower, 3-phase motor up there. This is a commercial dust collection blower that I bought used here that I then kind of adapted to use with my Cyclone, and it really does suck, I have to say. And then over here in the same corner, in the back there behind everything, is my kind of aging, inexpensive compressor, which is going to be replaced hopefully in the next year or so with a much better quality compressor, and I'll probably put that over in the dungeon annex, which is my storage area, kind of the next room over. And that way the compressor will be over there, and the noise and everything will be over there as well, so it won't bother anybody down there either. So that's probably where that's going to go. And beside that, sitting down there in the corner, is my MIG welder. I bought that in Canada one time on vacation, and I actually brought that home on the airplane. That was an interesting conversation at the ticket counter, let me tell you. But there's no gas or anything involved with it. It's just basically an electronic component. They found no reason in their rule book to say why I couldn't bring it, so I did. Of course, that was pre-9/11, I think. Okay, carrying on. This is my Phoenix bandsaw. I call it the Phoenix because it rose from the ashes. A very kind fellow named Steve Clardy in the States had his roof collapse on him one winter with a very heavy snowfall, and one of the beams from the ceiling fell down and hit his older import cast iron 14-inch bandsaw, and it broke the frame, and so it was history. And after Steve got all of his stuff back together and his workshop back up and running, I asked him if the wheels from the bandsaw were available or if they were damaged too. And fortunately for me, they were undamaged. So I got the wheels and the bearing things to make the saw work, and from there on I built the rest of the saw myself. It's built out of pretty heavy gauge steel there, and the frame is quite solid and stout. And I've got a double layer of steel in the back there with some pretty heavy duty strong backs, so there's not much flex in that frame at all. The saw runs on a I think it's about a 2 horsepower 3-phase motor. I have 3-phase down here because we have an elevator in the building, so I was able to get a sub panel for the 3-phase. So I've got my blower for my dust collection, and this bandsaw and my planer all run on 3-phase. So it's nice that I can get some equipment that's 3-phase equipment, and used usually online quite a bit cheaper because not a lot of guys have access to 3-phase power. Okay, and beside that is my Makita vacuum cleaner in the bottom there. This is the one with the, you can plug a tool in the front of it and switch it on, so when the tool comes on, the vacuum comes on. Very nice for doing sanding or routing operations. And I built a mini cyclone, again a Pence design, and put it on top there. And I bought a 25-foot long, what do you call that, Mr. Nozzle, I think, hose for that, which is great because I don't have to move the vacuum cleaner around. It just sits there in the corner, and I can vacuum the whole workshop with the 25-foot hose. Works fantastic. I get so little dust into the vacuum cleaner, it all goes into the bucket on the bottom there. I'm very, very pleased with that. Some storage units I built in the back there full of all kinds of stuff, all kinds of junk. In the back over there I have a carving machine that is a prototype from a company that they're getting me to test it for them, so I can't really show you much more than that. It's hopefully going to be in the market this year sometime, but I'm not sure. And then here in the front I have my grinding stand for my lathe tools, and that's a slow speed, one of the Woodcraft 8-inch slow speed grinders. I put the one-way balancing system on it and some good quality wheels. It works great. And on the back here I have an old Delta high-speed grinder that I just put an MDF disc on it with some polishing compound and some oil on the edge of the disc, so that I can use that for sharpening, super sharpening or honing things like skews, but you can also use it on chisels and that kind of stuff, or a knife or anything really. Boy, it gets stuff sharp, let me tell you. Down below here I have some lathe tools, some setup jigs for my various things. Here's my homemade sharpening jig. I couldn't find one at the time that was big enough to sharpen my super flute gouge from P&N Tools in Australia, so I made one myself. Works very well. Moving on from there, here's my lathe stand and my Nova DVR 3000. This is the little bit older model DVR. I very much like it. I got it used from a guy named George in the States. Thank you very much, George. I love the lathe. And I had it shipped over here, and even with the shipping and the price of the used lathe and everything else, it was still about half the price of buying one new here in Japan. Tools can be very expensive here in Japan. There's my collection of lathe tools. Like they say, never enough. I've got my I got a CI1, a CI2, and a CI0 lathe tools in there, and the 2 CI minis as well. Sure love those tools. They sure work well. Craig and Donna have done a great job with those, let me tell you. And I got turning stock in there, and I got all my other things, chucks and all the accessories, and you guys who turn know what I'm talking about, all the stuff that goes with running a lathe. A bunch more tools down there. My Kelton hollowing or coring jig is down there, and you can't see it, but down underneath in there I've got a vacuum pump, and here's my setup for my vacuum pump with my gauge and my cutoff valve and switch and hose and everything that goes in here into the end of the lathe, so I can use my vacuum chuck. But vacuum chuck is sure a nice thing to have on a lathe. Yeah, moving a little bit further along here, there's my Makita thickness planer in the bottom there. Sure is a good planer. I really like it. No complaints at all. And next to that is my big huge jointer, 10-inch wide, but it's not very long. It's maybe what, 4.5, 5 feet long. the Japanese style, I guess. I've got that used here on auction, very cheap, and refurbished it. Had to put a guard on it because it didn't have a guard, and not going to run a jointer without a guard on it. And above that is my sliding compound miter saw. Let's go take a look at that.